Have you ever felt overwhelmed by your own emotions? Angry one moment, anxious the next? Within every person exists a hidden realm of the psyche that we often try to ignore or deny. This realm contains parts of ourselves that feel uncomfortable, unacceptable, or even shameful. Our fears, anger, envy, and impulses we consider dark. These hidden aspects are commonly referred to as the shadow. Far from being something to fear or reject, the shadow holds in amongst our emotional. To truly master emotional intelligence, the first step is to courageously face and embrace the shadow. The shadow is not an external force, but an integral part of who we are. It forms through years of social conditioning, personal experiences, and a natural tendency to reject qualities that don't align with our conscious self-EOO cultural expectations. For example, a person who prides themselves on being kind and rational may suppress feelings of anger or jealousy. These emotions don't disappear. Instead, when we deny or push away these parts of ourselves, we give them energy and power over us. The shadow operates in the unconscious, and its influence can emerge unexpectedly, often in moments of stress, conflict, or emotional overwhelm. It may show itself as sudden outbursts, irrational fears, or self-sabotaging behavior. Embracing the shadow requires a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing these hidden traits as weaknesses or sins, we must see them as messengers that offer valuable insight into our emotional life. The shadow contains raw, unprocessed energy, energy that can be destructive if ignored. By bringing this energy into the light of conscious awareness, we reclaim the power it holds and can begin to understand ourselves more deeply. This process begins with honesty and self-compassion. It demands that we look inward without judgment, accepting that all human beings carry imperfections and contradictions. Recognizing that no one is purely good or bad allows us to soften our resistance to the shadow. This journaling, therapy, meditation, and introspective practices are useful tools for engaging with the shadow. These methods encourage us to notice recurring emotional patterns, painful memories, or moments of intense reaction. Often the shadow reveals itself through projection. When we criticize or judge others harshly, we are often seeing a reflection of traits we deny in ourselves. Becoming aware of this projection helps us identify which parts of our shadow need attention. As we gradually embrace our shadow, we gain emotional strength and flexibility. The fears and impulses that once control us lose their grip, replaced by greater self-understanding. This inner work reduces inner conflict and increases authenticity, allowing us to live with more integrity and emotional balance. As we realize that everyone struggles with their own incomplexities, in essence, embracing the shadow is the foundation of emotional intelligence because it opens the door to true self-awareness and emotional freedom. It transforms emotional darkness from a source of pain into a wellspring of wisdom and vitality. Without this step, to master emotional intelligence, we must take the courageous path of befriending our shadow, not as an enemy to be defeated, but as a vital part of the whole self to be understood and integrated. This journey of acceptance and integration empowers us to respond to life's challenges with greater resilience, clarity, and compassion. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of emotional intelligence. Many people go through life reacting automatically to emotions without understanding their deeper causes. Anger flares up unexpectedly, anxiety takes hold, or sadness descends, and we respond with either suppression or impulsive behavior. Without awareness, emotions can overwhelm us, lead to regret, misunderstanding, or damaged relationship. Developing self-awareness means learning to pause and ask, what am I really feeling right now? Why is this emotion arising? This process begins with mindfulness, the practice of paying gentle, non-judgmental attention to the present moment, including inner experiences. When we cultivate mindfulness, we become aware of our emotional waves as they arise, without immediately reacting or labeling them as good or bad. This awareness creates a gap between stimulus and response. It's important to notice not only what we feel, but also how our body responds. Emotions manifest physically. A tight chest, clenched jaw, shallow breath or tension in the shoulders. By tuning into these signals, we gain valuable clues about our emotional state, often before the mind has fully registered it. The body can act as an early warning system, alerting us to underlying stress or unresolved feelings that require attention. Keeping an emotional journal is a practical way to cultivate self-awareness. Writing down daily emotional experiences, triggers, and responses helps uncover patterns and recurring themes. Over time, this record reveals the root causes of emotional reactions and highlights areas where growth is needed. It also strengthens the habit of turning inward rather than projecting feelings outward or avoiding them altogether. Another powerful aspect of self-awareness is recognizing how our emotions influence our thoughts and behaviors. Emotional intelligence is not about controlling feelings forcibly, but about understanding their impact so we can respond with wisdom. Self-awareness also shines light on the unconscious projections we make onto others. Developing self-awareness is not a one-time achievement, but a lifelong practice. It requires patience, honesty, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths. Sometimes what we discover can be challenging, feelings of insecurity, jealousy, or sadness that we have avoided. Yet, bringing these emotions into conscious view diminishes their power to disrupt. With greater self-awareness, we cultivate emotional resilience. We become less vulnerable to being tossed by every emotional storm and more able to navigate life's complexities with steadiness. This clarity enhances decision-making as emotions become guides rather than obstacles. Ultimately, cultivating self-awareness means becoming the silent observer within, a wise inner presence that watches feelings come and go without being swept away. Within each individual reside two fundamental energies that shape how we experience and express emotions. These energies are often described as masculine and feminine, not in terms of gender, but as archetypal qualities present in everyone. The masculine energy embodies qualities such as assertiveness. True emotional intelligence arises not from favoring one over the other, but from harmonizing these energies within ourselves. In many cultures, the masculine energy is often valued for its decisiveness, strength, and capacity to achieve goals. It drives us to take action, set boundaries, and solve problems. On the other hand, the feminine energy encourages us to listen deeply, empathize, and stay connected to our emotional flow. It allows us to be vulnerable and compassionate. When these two energies are out of balance, emotional difficulties tend to arise. For example, if a person leans too heavily into the masculine energy, they may become rigid, disconnected from their feelings, or overly controlling. Their approach to emotions might be to suppress or ignore them, favoring logic and control instead. This imbalance can create inner tension as unacknowledged emotions build up beneath the surface, leading to stress, frustration, or emotional outbursts. Conversely, an excessive reliance on the feminine energy without the grounding presence of the masculine can lead to emotional overwhelm, indecision, or passivity. A person might become overly sensitive to others' feelings, losing sight of their own needs, or struggling to take action when necessary. Without the assertive energy to establish boundaries or direct focus, emotions can feel chaotic and difficult to manage. Balancing these energies means developing the ability to engage both assertive action and receptive awareness in harmony. It means knowing when to stand firm and when to soften, when to analyze and when to intuit, when to lead and when to listen. This dynamic balance fosters emotional flexibility, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with grace and strength. One way to cultivate this balance is through intentional self-reflection. Notice how you tend to approach emotions and situations. Do you habitually push feelings aside to maintain control, or do you get swept away by emotional tides? Neither extreme serves you fully. Practice inviting the opposite energy into your experience. If you lean toward control, allow space for vulnerability. If you tend toward emotional openness, practice setting clear boundaries. Another key is honoring the rhythms of both energies. The masculine energy thrives in action and decision-making, often moving quickly toward goals. The feminine energy moves more cyclically, flowing with intuition and emotional awareness. Respecting these rhythms within yourself allows a natural interplay rather than forced control or avoidance. Balancing these energies also enhances your relationships. When you bring both strength and empathy, firmness and tenderness, you communicate more authentically and connect more deeply. Others sense this wholeness and respond with trust and openness. Your emotional intelligence becomes a bridge rather than a barrier. Integration of these energies is not about conforming to society's stereotypes, but about embracing the full spectrum of human potential. It challenges us to move beyond rigid definitions of masculinity and femininity toward a more fluid, expansive understanding of self. In doing so, emotional intelligence becomes ultimately mastering emotional intelligence through this balance empowers you to be whole and authentic. You become capable of facing challenges with courage and compassion, making decisions with clarity and empathy, and relating to others with honesty and depth. This inner harmony is a profound source of emotional strength and wisdom that supports you throughout life. The mind holds many layers, some conscious and others hidden deep within the unconscious. Often, our emotional life is influenced not just by what we consciously think or feel, but by messages arising from these hidden layers. These messages come in the form of symbols, images, and dreams. To master emotional intelligence, it is essential to learn how to listen to and interpret this symbolic language. Dreams, for example, are not random or meaningless. They are vivid expressions of the psyche, revealing truths that our waking mind might overlook or resist. While our conscious thoughts tend to be linear and logical, dreams speak in stories, symbols, and emotions. They present scenes and characters that often seem strange or mysterious, but carry profound meaning related to our inner conflicts, desires, and emotional states. By paying attention to dreams, we open a dialogue with the deeper self. This dialogue can illuminate unresolved issues, hidden fears, or untapped potential. For instance, recurring symbols such as water, animals, or journeys may point to emotional currents flowing beneath the surface. Symbols are not confined to dreams alone. They appear in our daily thoughts, fantasies, creative work, and even in moments of intuition. A particular image, metaphor, or feeling that repeats in our mind can serve as a symbol, signaling something important about our inner world. By becoming curious about these symbols, instead of dismissing them as trivial, we allow ourselves to access a deeper emotional wisdom. Listening to this language means cultivating sensitivity to subtle inner messages rather than relying solely on rational analysis. It is an act of surrender to mystery and imagination. This does not imply abandoning reason, but complementing it with a richer understanding of how emotions communicate through metaphor. Symbolic language also helps us navigate emotional conflicts that are too complex for simple explanations. Sometimes emotions are tangled in paradox or contradiction, and symbols can hold these tensions without forcing resolution. For example, interpreting symbols and dreams is not about finding fixed meanings, but about personal exploration. The same symbol can mean different things to different people, or even to the same person at different times. Creative expression is another way to engage with symbolic language. By learning to listen to the language of symbols and dreams, we enrich our emotional intelligence with depth and nuance. We gain access to the wisdom of the unconscious, which often holds the key to emotional healing and growth. This skill invites us to view our emotional life not as a series of isolated reactions, but as a meaningful story unfolding within. In embracing this symbolic communication, we cultivate patience and openness. Emotional understanding deepens over time as we return again and again to the symbols that speak to us. This ongoing engagement becomes a powerful tool for emotional mastery. Ultimately, learning to listen to symbols and dreams helps us align more closely with our authentic self. It fosters a sense of wonder and connection to the mysterious inner world where healing and transformation occur. This sensitivity enhances our ability to respond to emotions with wisdom and compassion, enriching our lives and relationships profoundly. The journey of integration is the path toward wholeness, the process by which the many fragmented parts of the self come together to form a balanced and harmonious whole. Each of us carries within a complex tapestry of emotions, memories, desires, and contradictions. These parts often seem at odds, joy tangled with sorrow, confidence shadowed by doubt, love mixed with fear. Integration means accepting all aspects of ourselves. Without integration, this inner conflict can cause emotional turmoil and disrupt our sense of peace. To begin the journey of integration, we must first develop awareness of these disparate parts. This requires honest self-examination and courage to face what lies hidden within. Often these are parts we have disowned because they brought pain. As we recognize these fragments, the next step is to bring them into conscious dialogue with one another. Integration is not about forcing harmony or erasing differences. Rather, It is about creating a space where conflicting aspects can coexist and communicate. Imagine your psyche as a family with diverse members, each with his own voice and perspective. When these voices are heard and co-incorporated, this process often unfolds gradually and requires patience. It involves not only accepting difficult emotions, but also learning from them. Pain and discomfort become teachers, guiding us toward deeper self-understanding. The journey of integration transforms emotional pain into wisdom and strength. Inner conflicts often reveal themselves through projection onto others, repeating relationship patterns, or recurring emotional reactions. By observing these external mirrors, we can trace back to the inner parts that need attention. Healing these inner divisions enhances our emotional intelligence and enriches our relationship with others. Therapeutic practice, journaling, meditation, and reflective dialogue can support the integration process. These tools help us listen deeply to ourselves and foster compassion for all parts of the psyche. The goal is to cultivate an inner unity that embraces complexity without fragmentation. Integration also involves balancing opposing energies within ourselves, such as strength and vulnerability, independence and connection, reason and feeling. Emotional intelligence flourishes when these polarities are held in creative tension rather than in conflict. This balance empowers us to respond flexibly to life's challenges, adapting our emotional responses to respond awareness of skill. As we progress on this journey, we develop greater emotional resilience. We no longer fear the complexity within, but welcome it as a source of vitality and authenticity. This wholeness allows us to navigate relationships with empathy and clarity, recognizing the humanity in ourselves. The journey of integration is a lifelong path, unfolding in cycles of growth, healing, and renewal. Each stage brings new insights and deeper emotional freedom. It calls for ongoing commitment to self-exploration and openness to change. Ultimately, integration transforms emotional intelligence from a set of techniques into a living experience of wholeness. It invites us to become fully present in our emotional life, embracing the full range of feelings with acceptance and grace. This inner harmony radiates outward, enriching our connections and enabling us to live with purpose and joy. Through integration, we become more than the sum of our parts. We discover an authentic self that is resilient, compassionate, and deeply alive. This is the heart of mastering emotional intelligence. A profound union of all aspects of the self into a coherent and vibrant whole. Human beings are fundamentally relational creatures. Our emotional intelligence is not developed in isolation, but in the dynamic interplay of relationships with ourselves and with others. Compassionate relationships are the fertile ground in which emotional growth and healing flourish. To master emotional intelligence, it is essential to cultivate relationships founded on empathy, understanding, and mutual respect. Compassion in relationships begins with self-compassion. It requires us to treat ourselves with kindness when we falter, to accept our imperfections without harsh judgment, and to nurture our own emotional needs. Self-compassion creates an inner foundation of safety and acceptance, which enables us to relate to ourselves from a place of wholeness, rather than lack. When we are gentle with ourselves, we naturally extend that gentleness. In relationships, compassion means truly listening, being fully present with another's experience without rushing to judge, fix, or dismiss. It involves an openness to vulnerability, allowing us to connect beyond superficial interaction. Compassionate relationships also require patience and forgiveness. All human beings carry wounds and limitations, and misunderstandings are inevitable. Approaching conflicts with empathy rather than defensiveness helps to transform tension into opportunity for growth. Forgiveness is a powerful act that releases the hold of past hurts, opening space for healing and renewed connection. Developing compassion in relationships calls for recognizing and honoring differences without trying to change others. Each person brings a unique emotional landscape shaped by their history and worldview. Respecting these differences nurtures harmony and deepest understanding. It also mirrors the internal integration we seek within ourselves, accepting complexity within our unique complexity. Empathy, the ability to sense and resonate with another's feelings, is central to compassionate relationships. It bridges emotional distance and creates a shared space where emotions are validated and understood. The practice of compassion is not passive but active. It involves conscious choices to priority connection over judgment, kindness over criticism, and support over indifference. Small acts of kindness, attentive listening, and genuine expressions of care accumulate, reinforcing emotional bonds and creating a culture of mutual respect. Compassionate relationships also challenge us to expand our emotional intelligence by encountering emotions outside our usual comfort zones. Being present for someone's pain, fear, or anger can be difficult, but it provides invaluable opportunities for growth. Such experiences cultivate patience, tolerance, and deeper insight into the human emotional condition. These relationships offer our mirrors reflecting our own emotional patterns, providing feedback that supports self-awareness and integration. Through compassionate interaction, we learn to manage our emotional responses more skillfully, recognizing triggers and practicing empathy rather than reactivity. In the broader social context, practicing compassionate relationships contributes to healthier communities and societies. Emotional intelligence grounded in compassion fosters cooperation, reduces polarization, and promotes collective well-being. It reminds us, ultimately, mastering emotional intelligence through compassionate relationships is about embracing our shared humanity. It involves a continuous commitment to openness, understanding, and love, both inwardly and outwardly. This practice transforms emotional intelligence from an individual skill into a relational art. By fostering compassion in our connections, we create a ripple effect that touches not only ourselves and those closest to us, but extends into the wider world. This living practice of empathy and kindness becomes the foundation for emotional mastery, healing, and transformation.